although we are not, means I don't use all these things, but just we have taken aid of a bit of analysis. It may not be, let's say, empirically valid, but it is what we think. This analysis is based on what we think. It depends on, let's say, the level of knowledge that you have, what we have. So on that basis, we have analyzed, and we have kept in the categorization of different, let's say that doable category, because we cannot put simple as a term, because questions are not, it is UPSC, not CBSE, you can say it is simple question. So that's why we have kept a doable category, that the questions which we can do by your little efforts or some efforts. So that is how we have categorized from 1 to 8, and total we have 400 marks questions, 28 questions, 8 questions, each 50, so it is 400, no. And we have to attempt 250 marks. So in that way, if you see, so 235 will consider on doable category, and 130 will consider from, let's say, difficult category. Difficult, you can say complex. Extremely difficult, I have kept only 2 questions, which we find yes, they are extremely difficult for the candidates to do. And that can be, let's say, 35 marks. And then we have also added the questions which have newness. Newness in the sense that the first time UPSC has asked from those topics or sections. Although there are every time we keep saying that it is expected question, or so far a question has not been asked from this section, so we say the question will be asked from this section. So that in that category, if you see, so we have those questions which we can say 125 marks. The same thing we have given in this representation, that you can see this, that how the representation of difficult question, this will constitute 400, that is additional analysis, and in that we can still say that the paper is quite doable. It is doable simply because we are aiming for UPSC. From that perspective, it's not that you go and get a question and then you don't have to apply any mind, simply you have to write answers. So that way we can have very, let's say, 2-3 questions which we have not analyzed. Then the same thing we have tried to categorize the calculation. So it is, let's say, my calculation, I may have a bit, there's a calculator error here and there. But anyhow, this we say doable, so it's 58%, which we can say let's 60%. In general, we can say, let's say, overall, we have 60% questions which you can do by your efforts. And yes, in over 30% questions, you can face challenge. Challenge in the sense that we find you may not be able to exactly answer the way question is asking. But in 60% of the cases, yes, you can to some extent answer the way it is asking, which we will show some questions. And again, let's say it's 8%, which we can say lump sum, let's say that 10%. So we can have 10% questions, which let's say that they will be extremely difficult. And they are always going to be this. And that is not going to determine your merit. Now, as we tell in our class that what you do in this 58% will be, let's say, deciding factor rather than this one. We always say that what you do in the doable question. Why we say? Because you will always go by this and this. Paper bahut difficult hai. Isn't it? We say like this. And we will always ask to people, friends, peers, what? Most difficult question. This. And if he answers, so he knows. He does not answer, he does not know. But it does not matter. It does not matter that whether you are able to answer them or not. Still, let's say that it matters that what you do in this category. And that will decide your merit. Because here it is, let's say that if there are 500 candidates appearing, there can be 5 people. It can be, let's say, 5 persons who can guess something and they can write. But what about, let's say, rest? 495. So they will not be able to guess. That's why let's say ki largely merit will be determined by this one. What you do in 60%. And you know that ki we have to secure in this, even if you secure 140, you can say that. 140 is good, we'll say that it will be resulting. 130 if you secure in paper 1. So you can count 130 out of 250. What is the percentage? It is just 50% or over 50%. So that way we can say that the focus or the message should be that ki there are doable questions and we should focus on doable questions. We should not unnecessarily get upset by difficult questions, which we as a human tendency do. Our human tendency is that as soon as we get even the first A question is difficult, then we lose our concentration, we lose our, let's say that ki balance, and that is how it happens, you'll find. That should not happen. Then difficult question. So we have kept those difficult, although we have read the questions, but this is how you'll find. Why we say that it is a difficult question? Because people will find difficult to relate what is what and why. They will be able to write what is how. But in case of what and why, they may have lack of clarity. And they may not be able to write that. That's why we have kept first a question. And now then let's say it is a very, you can say that UPSC has a very deliberate way to put first a question a bit challenging. Right. To unbalance you. This anyhow, because people go plan that they will do first A, they will write. Right. If end beginning is good, so end is good. It may not necessarily. Then let's say that interaction between state and civil society. So people know less on state and civil society interaction in the context of developing countries. Why it is difficult? Because they may not have any specific fact to mention. How, let's say that interaction between state and civil society. Do you have any let's say that what we can say legitimate or any good fact related to this question? So they will find it challenging. That's why we have kept new public service. Why we have kept, even if it is third time they are asking? Because still people do not know much about new public service, except the 7 principles. So they know 7 principles. Beyond that, if they have to argue, because question is about distinctive, important, meaningful, do you have to argue on that? So do you have ability to argue on that? So because of that, we have kept it in difficult, even if it is the third time they have asked. And then let's say leadership. The leadership, basically this contextualization of leadership. So it is because of that, let's say that we have kept it in this category, difficult category, because you have to differentiate between leadership and administratorship. You know about leadership and managership, and certainly a candidate is going to write. Certainly a candidate is going to write about leadership and managership will be considered as something called administratorship. But we have kept it because of the second part, and again it is a 20-mark question. So because of that we have kept this regulatory. People have less regulatory governance, so they are able to write on regulation. Whether they will be able to write on regulatory governance, it demands, let's say, essence of knowledge in public administration. Overall knowledge, not a topic knowledge, you know about regulation, so you can write. So that's why you have to structure the answer, and that is how, and then it is very vague. Hopes and demands. What we mean by hopes and demands? Generic. So it is because of that. Then standards. I guess there is no typing error. So standards are the foundation. What are those standards? No. And then you have to link with regulation. You will wonder why in section B they have asked a question related to regulation. So that's why we have kept. Then basically it is talking this unattainable goal. People will be able to write the statement, but they will find it difficult to write this one, avoid policy failure. So what are the suggestions that we can avoid policy failure? So it demands a link between incrementalism and rationalism. Both, then you will be able to. So we'll talk later on when we'll have discussion on this. Then finally, let's say Washington Consensus they have asked. So that's why we keep mentioning the terms. Be aware about the terms. Once Washington Consensus term was asked, then I was thinking, we have mentioned in class, they will be having in their mind Washington Consensus. That is how we say that. That become basis, and already let's say 4 or 5 years back we have asked. We have asked a question 4 or 5 years back on Washington Consensus second. And that is how it is this question, Washington Consensus second, because it is post Washington Consensus. So it is asking on post. A person who is able to understand Washington Consensus can answer this. But then you have to still make your answer, create your answer. Answer structure is not clear. You have to create it. Because of that, again it is kept in difficult category. And then this is how they have asked ethics related. So people will not be able to link between the first part and the second part. And because of that, we have kept it difficult category. So then let's say extremely difficult. The most complex question of this paper is 2A. तो फर्स्ट ए भी डिफिकल्ट था और 2A भी पढ़ेगा तो isn't it? So suppose you have planned for a short answer first and it is difficult, नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, then you will try to चलो long question लिख लेते, isn't it? So you will read 2A question and you cannot make out sense ki what they are saying. People are aware administrative state, but the way this question has been structured, it is very difficult to get sense out of that. Exactly what the question is asking. That's why we have kept it. It is the most complex question, if not a new question. It is not a new question because administrative state question they have asked in past also. 2-3 years back, first a question was related to administrative state. So people know, at least let's say that people know about administrative state, but it is difficult to link, which will talk that how. And this is how completely new question which even we cannot also think. So it is our beyond, let's say that also efforts, we also try to teach some new things, but every year UPSC is asking one question. Last year they asked a new question, we got that, public passion approach. So we also ask in mock test, but then that year also they ask strategic leadership. And again they are asking strategic communication, as if the term strategic is very close to UPSC. So you know communication, but not strategic communication. So you cannot take a strategic decision in selecting this question, isn't it? So simply it is new. You cannot guess कि ये क्या है strategic unless you select the question to do. That is how let's say we can say that extremely difficult simply because people do not know it. It is because of that. It is a very complex question in entire paper. And that way we can see other questions can be done. That is how we have told. Then we have tried to tell this old versus new. We have tried to give this picture that So we have counted, it's about again let's say that 68 means we can take let's say over 70% questions will be as per the established trend. From the syllabus they have been asking repeatedly, they will ask. Like say ki Mayo they have asked, Mayo is again asked, Bernard has been asked, Bernard again they will ask. Now, but there are let's say that ki within Bernard, suppose in Bernard case zone of indifference first time they have asked. They did not ask, let's say, in past they have asked his system approach, functions of executive, others they have asked. The first time they asked that aspect. So that way we keep saying also about the topics which they have not asked. If you see in that way, so it's about over 30% questions which they are asking and they are having newness. And newness means let's say that it keeps the paper fresh. That is how UPSC has this, that it keeps the paper fresh, and that way we can see. Let's take that, what those new questions can be considered. So as let's say that expected and predicted transformational leadership. No, now you will think हमारे time में क्या आएगा? Isn't it? So they have asked transformational, they have asked charismatic. In past also, charismatic ask, transformational ask, strategic leadership also they have asked a new type of leadership, not what next. This true transactional leadership. So transactional is still left. It was expected, that is how they have asked. That's why zone of indifference, first time they have asked, we have kept. It is a new question we have kept. Now let's say since policy evaluation, so far they ask questions related to policy making. Largely the field of or the chapter public policy is about policy making and policy implementation. We do not have a topic related to policy evaluation. Hence, first time they have asked a question related to policy evaluation. This. And therefore now hence we will teach, so we will also add policy evaluation. That is how it happens. Because already whatever the syllabus you have, you teach. So it becomes so lengthy. And then when you start, right? So policy evaluation, it also gets legitimacy. No, once UPSC asks, there is a legitimacy to teach that topic. Otherwise, people will not pay attention. So first time they have asked policy evaluation related question. And it is very simple question. Question is simple, but policy evaluation as, let's say the term you can say or the area you can say, it is new. So then outcome busting, now it is asked. This. So zero based busting, last year they asked, since some of you are still not aware, but those people who have been taught, those who know, so that is how we will find that. So outcome busting was a predictable busting and it was the only busting left, because last year they asked zero based busting, performance busting already asked, gender busting already asked. So this way we'll find ki outcome busting asked, but now there is no any new busting which is going to be asked. Yes, we have multi-year busting which is left. So at times I don't feel motivation to teach, at times I feel motivation to teach. This is how, because it happens if you teach for a long time and it is not asked. The day you stop it, then that also happens. Anyhow, then if you remember change oriented, it is question related to change and prismatic nature, exogenous, endogenous changes. So it is on the basis of that, and first time they have asked a question related to change, okay, from risk category. So that way we consider it as a new Washington consensus, yes, again first time. And this question, they have first time linked training and training relevance related to non-training public personnel processes. So far the question they used to ask only related to training. Training, techniques of training, training attitude, behavior change, training is traditional, training is paid holiday. So question used to be only related to training. Now first time they have asked question training plus non, means other, let's say that personal activities which influence effectiveness of training. This coincidentally, we asked this question in our mock test this year in paper second. We'll show that question to you. So we have asked coincidentally, because it was based on policy for science research paper. There is a research paper on training which highlighted this link we asked in our mock test, and we find that first time they have also asked this question. Anyhow, let's take that. New, again we are categorizing that new means the topics which are completely new, or they are going on the basis of contemporary developments in public administration. So these are the three questions we can consider that they have asked. The hat trick, we can say that. You should know that in new public service they have been asking for last 3 years. This. Therefore, what I did is this time ki jo question the asking most of the time, let's ask that question. We have asked in our test program, which start let's say today, which started today, because it shows that ki some of the things, even if it is repeated, they are going to ask. This, the possibility of NPS again ask is more. Right. It may or may not be asked, but that is how you find continuously 3 times they are asking. And most out of box question is this. If you single out one question in 28 questions, it is strategic communication, which even we cannot guess, that is how I can say. Others can be guessed, but it cannot be guessed this way. So this way we can consider a bit of our analysis. That then let's take that generally theory section that we say. Right. So theory section. And in theory section, let's say we have told, see, total 14 questions are there in section A. Out of that, 9 questions are from 3 chapters. And that share is 65%. This. And rest, let's say that others are 35% from other 3 chapters. This means only let's say that 5 questions. It means theory section will ultimately determine your merit. Now, we have given options also. We started giving since 2019 how to choose questions and which questions you should have chosen. We have gone with 3, 4 and 8, or it is first choice. Why 3, 4 and 8? Means which question you should have selected. So we will always say that you should select 2 questions, full questions from section A and 1 question from section B. That will give you edge over having more questions from section B. Why? Because section A is more theoretical. So when it is more theoretical, your answer will be relatively more objective. This, and you know that even if paper may be difficult, still people secure marks in paper 1 rather than paper second. This. So if you take from that perspective, so that's why we have gone for 3, 4 and 8. Let's say that 3. Why we are selecting 3 and 4? Now, even if strategic communication is given, and I know people will not know it, still we have selected third one. Why? Because by this time, since we know that 2 times NPS has been asked, this, and largely people know, let's say, good student will know about NPS, and he will have also ability to write it. Only those people who are not aware about post-NPM models, they will not know it. This. And at least in NPS you know something specific. You will not write here and there thing. At least you know 7 principles. Even if you do not know 7 principles, but you know some of the principles. And you know it is a post NPM model. So that's why still you will be able to write something objective. Objective is called something exact, which will not have vagueness. And then let's say that ki Barnard, if you cannot write this question, so what you can write? Isn't it? Zone of indifference, if a person cannot write, so what he can write? This A is 20 mark question is also very objective. You will write zone of indifference. Right. You will write how authority and acceptance authority and etc. you will write. This, that's why let's say that ki it is objective. You know that. You do not know strategic communication, but you know communication very well. No. You know communication very well. So you should write communication. Towards end, manipulate it. The way you manipulate, isn't it? A plus B equals to AB. So that way it can be done, right? So since let's say that still you will get 15 marks if you write a very good answer on communication as per the theory aspect, still you are getting 7. And suppose you write it strategic communication when you know, still it is weak answers and you will not get 7. And examiner also knows, ये किसी को आता नहीं है. Examiner also know that कि किसी को आता नहीं है. Nobody is going to know about strategic communication. So they will judge your answer as per how better you write your answer on communication. Right. And that's why we will select third. Right. We will not select this one because 20 mark question you do not know what to write. This now transformational leadership. So I doubt that people will be able to argue as per the terms given. Even if they know 4 I's, isn't it? But 5th I they do not know. That let's say that they will not be able to relate it. So when they will not be able to relate it, they will not get marks. Situation. And it is human relation. Again it depends that what you write. This, in this. And relate. Is it more relevant today? So it is vague. Even if you know what exactly it is asking. Means you will have to apply some efforts in that. So I will ask after when we will start discussion. Now why 4 we are saying? Because it is leadership. And we expect you will be able to answer because leadership and administratorship. So you can equate managership, you can replace by administratorship. This way. Again you have something concrete to write on that. This. Then regulatory governance. You can write regulatory governance, whatever you are writing, but you are still writing the relevant one. And then it is very simple question. This social audit is just not about money, it is positive impact. Right. People have lots of content to write on social audit. This we can say. So still let's say 3 and 4 should be selected. And then 8, why we are saying 8? 8 we are saying because of our student. Right. If they are not our student, then it is difficult for them. We have exactly asked the same question in our sectional test. Right. Test number 6 or 7. 8. Yes, test number 7. In test number 7, we have asked audit related. I will show you next time when we will have our discussion for paper 2nd. I will show some copies also, which I evaluated. And in that I have written, write internal audit reforms. This. So, audit question we ask a 20 mark question. It is also an audit question and it was expected internal audit reform. So already candidates have practice. If they have not written test, they have model answer. This, and that's why let's say that people can attempt it. Then civil service, B, this public sector ethics, again let's say that those who know, at times we tell our in ethics that merely having code of conduct will not going to solve this. That is how you have to relate. So here also people have their answer structure prepared. What they will do is that they will write ethics related with corruption, then they will say conduct, code of conduct, code of ethics, as of now not relevant, public service code is needed as per ARC second. This is how they will write. Still it will become relevant, and failure of public policy, it is a simple question. Means this, some people have written really good answer when we had our let's say sectional test, and on audit they write very good answer. Then let's say that this is a very simple question, relationship between policy implementation and policy making, which also they know. That's why 8 questions should be selected. So 3, 4 and 8 we will consider as the best choice. Although let's say that again it depends on people, person to person, who is comfortable in which question. This, and it is also about individual strength. So it can be let's say that 3, 4 and 8, or you can say take 3 or 4 and then you can take 6 and 7 that way. So that is how the choice. Although again it depends on, the choices will depend on your level of preparation. And it does not matter that what we choose here, rather it matters that what you do not choose, rather what you write. Writing in answer is more important than choosing any question. Suppose you have a right selection but answer is not appropriate, then what you will do? Then we'll try to discuss after this question answer, and then we'll talk about what should be the strategy for 2023.
The first step towards achieving your dreams is having the right coach. Get the best education with LUKMAAN IAS and make your UPSC dreams come true. Download the app now.